What is up, Tube users? I'm the Stereotypical Gamer, and welcome back to another fantastically fun games for under $15. Today, we are taking a trip down nostalgia lane with a game that definitely has a nostalgic feel, but has a lot of updated mechanics to it that makes it a really fun game to replay even by today's standards, and that is the Oregon Trail Director's Cut. Now, I believe this game is pretty much a homage to the Oregon Trail, like the state Oregon, and it was a game that was like about the pilgrims going through the Oregon Trail, and you kind of just have random things encountered along the way, and you're basically trying to survive. And I believe it's basically the same game, kind of same mechanics, but in a zombified version and more modern, and it's really fun and interesting. I don't have much memory of the old Oregon Trail. I know I played it maybe like once or twice as a kid, but it's not in like my nostalgic memories. So this game definitely just kind of gives off the old retro vibe, but has just really good updated mechanics that makes it play well even on modern systems. And I think it's interesting because it definitely feels like a modern kind of roguelike, just kind of the mechanics of how everything plays out. And while the actual game mechanics are pretty simple, the challenge that you have to face with just kind of resource management and even some of the missions on higher difficulties are really an actual challenge, and I really enjoy that it's really simplistic overall, but there is a lot of struggles that you have to go through and just kind of randomness that's thrown at you, and you just have to try and manage everything while going on this long journey. And I love the randomness of the encounters in this game. Like, I know in the original Oregon Trail, one of the big things is like people in your party would just randomly die of dysentery, and there is dysentery that you can get. Luckily, there is treatments for it because we can treat it now. And so just having like stuff like that and just having random things that your companions do to just basically hinder you the entire time. They don't really do much to help you, but you're just trying to keep them alive when they're just kind of doing stupid things for the most part is a really fun and interesting challenge. Like, one of my favorite things that happened during one of my runs is one of my party members was messing around with our muffler and broke it, and we ended up having to just wait for someone to trade another muffler, and we waited for hours and hours, and I just got so fed up with that and so angry that I just ended up killing my friend and just moving on without him. And after I killed him, we found a guy with a muffler for a good trade. So, you know, some things kind of just pay off that way. But I just really enjoy the challenge. Like, there is definitely a lot of randomness and a lot of things that just kind of go wrong that are out of your control. But for the most part, if you're managing your resources well and you're just being on top of anything that could be going wrong, you can get to the end without anyone dying. I've only done it like once or twice because there is just like some random things that will happen that are out of your control, that one of your party members will just die or something. But to get all the way to the end with everyone surviving is a really satisfying accomplishment. And I like the difficulty scale of this game. There's 4 different difficulties to this game, and it's definitely a game that is easy to learn, easy to pick up. I think anyone could just pick up and play this game, but playing at the harder difficulties is definitely a challenge and is definitely something like an easy to learn, kind of hard to master difficulty curve, and that's one of my favorite things about games, and this game does it so well. And while it's not really a roguelike in the sense of today's standards of replayability, there's not a whole lot. You're still going on the same path each time. You're going to same towns each time. There's always like the same jobs. There's different payments and different difficulties for the jobs and stuff like that. And kind of the stuff you encounter is mainly the roguelike elements. But overall, I just find it really fun to just pick 4 party members. Maybe it's just like 4 of my friends or something, and just kind of seeing what plays out and like who's the biggest dick of the group and stuff like that. And it's just kind of just a fun, enjoyable experience. I think overall to get to the end probably takes about an hour to 2 hours, just depending on how fast or slow you want to go. And I like that you can change the speed of things and just kind of manage everything really well. It's just a super smooth game that can be finished relatively quickly, or you can just take it at a slow pace and just kind of see and explore everything. It's really well done. And I think the resource management is probably one of my favorite things, because every single resource is important in the game. Like, you really don't want to have nothing of any of the resources, but to try and get everything is not an easy task. So you have to sacrifice some things in order to maintain other things, and just trying to manage that without losing everything is definitely difficult at the higher levels, but is a really fun challenge, and I think is what really sets us apart, because most of the other aspects of this game are really basic and not super enjoyable, but the resource management definitely takes it to another level and make it a lot of fun. Normally I'll go over some of the bad aspects of this game, but overall I think it's pretty enjoyable. I think the one thing is the replayability is kind of tough, because the only thing that changes is just kind of the random occurrences that you'll find. You'll get like different stuff and different resources and things, but overall I don't think this has as much replayability as like a typical roguelike from today's standards. And I think a big reason for that is the missions, which is like your best way of getting resources, is to go to the towns and do the jobs. And there's only 3 jobs with varying levels of difficulty, but the difficulty doesn't really do much. Like, for the most part, it just adds more like bandits or more zombies for you to fight, but overall it doesn't make it like more difficult. I think maybe the bandits one makes it more difficult, but the other ones really don't. And I think there's only 3 missions, if I'm not mistaken, so they do kind of get repetitive quickly, and that's something that just kind of turns me off of replaying this over and over like I would any other roguelike. But I think overall what this game offers for the $5 price tag that it has just base is fantastic, and really I can't complain about that. Even though it doesn't have that replayability that I want, there is enough of it for it to be replayable, which is nice. But now that we've gone over the good and the bad of this game, let's dive into some tips and tricks, because I think the challenge on higher difficulties of this game is really fun, and just having a good basis for this game is really important. So for the most part, it is personal preference, but what I found works the most during each mission is the different types of weapons you use definitely helps. So there's 3 types of weapons in the game. You have your single shot rifle, which does 1 shot and then reloads fairly quickly. You have a pistol that will shoot 4 shots but then has a slower reload. And then you have a shotgun, which does a 3 pellet burst but also has like a medium reload time. And I like how these weapons feel unique, even though they have like the same model and the same shots and everything. The reload thing is kind of what sets them apart, and it's actually kind of enjoyable because they do have their strengths given different missions. So what I found works the best is using the single shot rifle for defense missions when you're just trying to defend off against a horde of zombies, just because you're able to pick off a lot more enemies quicker than you can with the shotgun or the pistol because of its fast reload time. And then I find the pistol to be best for the scavenging missions, or just when you're out scavenging, because of the 4 shots. You typically, when you're scavenging, unless you're in a really dense zombie population, you don't need the 4 shots right away, and so the reload time doesn't really matter in that, and so it's really nice for those types of activities. Now, as far as resources go, obviously you want to try and maintain and have a little bit of everything on you, but it definitely can be difficult, especially as you get later on in the game and resources are just kind of depleting faster than you can gain them. I would say the biggest things to get is at least like 1 tire, 1 muffler, 1 battery for your car, just in case it does break down, because I find for the most part, if it does break down, you can be waiting a while, and that usually kills my runs. And then I would say scrap and medkits are the next most important things, because I believe if your station wagon completely breaks down, game's over. If you die, which the only way you can heal your main character's self is through medkits. For some reason, I don't know why, but when you rest, all your other party members will gain health as your food depletes, but you won't gain health. And so medkits are the only way to heal yourself, and if you die, the round's over. And then I would say at the bottom is food and cash. I mean, scrap can be kind of put in there because food, scrap, and cash are really easy to scavenge anywhere, and as long as you don't get overrun by zombies while you're scavenging, for the most part, it's pretty easy to find that stuff, so it's not a big worry. I think food is a little bit, you want to stay on top and make sure that you have enough, because as you're driving, you're depleting food, and it doesn't really show that. And gasoline is kind of another thing that is easy to scavenge, and you just kind of want to make sure that you have a steady supply of that as well. But yeah, I think that's all the main tips I have for this game. It's a super fun game, and I love the kind of skill of aiming in this game. It's not really like difficult in terms of like how modern first-person shooters work, but just kind of aiming it around like the pullback is actually kind of satisfying, and especially if you get like long shots that you're not really intending, it can be really fun. But I would say for the most part, this game is a resource management kind of roguelike game, and I really enjoy that part. It is probably the most important part of the game. While it's not really the biggest part of the game, it is really fun to just make sure that you try and manage that and keep everyone alive throughout the run, and especially on higher difficulties, doing that is a real challenge. And I like that because it's such a basic game that has such a hard challenge like that. It's really fun to try and overcome. And I also love the nostalgic kind of music. It definitely has like some modern, it's not like full 8-bit, but it has like that 8-bit sound to it, and it's just so well done. And I love the intense music during like intense fights. There's like some times when you're scavenging, you'll just get like a random boss fight, and like just hearing the music kind of intense up during those times is really fun and exciting. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like if you did, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.